Saber dialogar, saber escutar são características fundamentais para sabermos viver juntos em paz. Espero que estejam a desfrutar desta experiência e que possa estar a ser uma boa experiência para cada uma e cada um de vós. Vamos agora até aos Estados Unidos da América. In many tragic moments in the history of humanity, a process of dehumanization was experienced. To talk to us through this topic, we have David Livingstone Smith with us. It's a great honor. He is a professor of philosophy in the University of New England and is dedicated to the study of these issues such as dehumanization, mass violence, among others. He is the author of the important books like Less Than Human and On Inhumanity. And it's my pleasure to welcome Professor David Livingstone Smith to our Ubuntu Summit.
Thank you so much. I hope you all can hear me. I've had a little bit of microphone trouble this morning, but I trust that I will be told if you cannot hear me. It's an honor to speak to you, and it's an honor to be associated with the Ubuntu Leaders World Summit. I want to speak to you today about a matter that is serious, urgent, and all too often ignored. I want to speak to you about my life's work, the study of dehumanization. Dehumanization is a way of thinking about other people. When people dehumanize others, they think of them as less than human. Typically, they think of a whole group of people as less than human, as dangerous animals, as unclean beasts, as vermin, as monsters, as demons. This is very important because dehumanization has been linked with the very worst things that human beings have done to one another. Genocide, war, oppression, slavery, and other atrocities. Past generations have not addressed the phenomenon of dehumanization properly. Sure, people talk about it, but what's very important is to understand it, to get inside of it, to figure out how it works, why it happens, and how to stop it. Because after all, if we don't understand how something works, how something is put together, then we don't stand much of a chance of dismantling it, of putting an end to it. And in the case of dehumanization, this is an urgent task, particularly in light of the challenges that are confronting humanity in the century to come. My research has taught me a lot about dehumanization, and I'd like to share two of what I think are the most important lessons with you. One is that dehumanization does not come naturally to the human mind. It doesn't simply occur to people to think of other people as less than human. Dehumanization happens under the influence of propaganda and ideology. When people in positions of power, be they politicians, religious leaders, celebrities, anyone with an influence on the views of the general populations, convince us that there are whole groups of people who might look human, who might seem human, who might act like human beings, but who are not, on the inside, truly human beings. They're not human. They're beasts. They're bloodthirsty predators. They're vermin. They're unclean animals. They're demons. They're monsters. And this sort of rhetoric, when people in positions of power frighten us into thinking of others in that way, leads to terrible acts. So dehumanization doesn't come from the inside. It comes from the outside. It comes from people convincing us to override our perceptions of others as human beings. There's something about us that makes that difficult. There's something about us such that when we look at another human face and look into another pair of human eyes, we simply cannot help seeing that other person as a human being. But people in positions of power who are skilled in the ways of propaganda are able to convince us otherwise. They're able to lead us to do terrible things to one another and convince us that in doing so, we are doing the right thing, that we are saving the world from evil. In every genocide that I've studied, the génocidaires, the perpetrators of atrocity, think that they are morally in the right, are convinced that they are ridding the world of evil by exterminating whole populations of human beings. Another thing that my research has taught me is that all of us are potential dehumanizers. It's tempting to think that the other people who think of human beings as less than human, that single out a minority, a racial minority, an ethnic minority, a religious minority, for persecution and brutality. It's tempting to think that those people are insane or they're monsters. They're not. They're like you and me. That's very important. They hold up a mirror to us to show us what we are capable of under the right circumstances. There are no monsters. Monsters are imaginary. All the most brutal acts that human beings have perpetrated on one another are perpetrated not by monsters, but by human beings. These considerations show how vital it is for you, young people, to find ways to resist the forces of inhumanity, to find ways of not becoming part of the atrocities that have scarred humanity for thousands of years, to resist and to help others to resist. You can only do this, though, if you understand the phenomenon that you're dealing with. If you understand the phenomenon of dehumanization, such that rather than becoming victims of it and perpetrators of it, you can work to combat it, to eliminate it, to dismantle it, to find better ways of carrying out the human project. You young people are the future. You have the opportunity to do better than past generations did, to succeed where my generation and earlier generations failed, to make sure to make the world a better place than it is and it has been. Please stand up for humanity. It is in your power to do so. Thank you.